Welcome to the Ryan and Nate's Business Podcast. Come listen to these two blue-collar business guys. Nate, your go-to automotive repairer, and Ryan, your local heating and air contractor, talk about business, how to help you, and hear stories from our local unsung heroes. Community matters to them, and so does a healthy business. Here's Ryan and Nate.
Hey everyone, this is the Ryan and Nate Business Podcast. This is our first episode. What's going on, Nate?
We are getting going with this new thing, and we want to tell people about why we started this thing, who we are, where we came from, and what value we think this thing's going to add.
Great. So let's start with why we started this podcast. Why did we start this podcast, Nate?
We really had two people or two things in mind, two pieces of content that we had in mind. One is we love small business. Both of us come from the small business world. We're going to talk about that a little bit in this episode, where we came from. But we came from the small business world, the local small business, service-based business world. And we want to talk to other business owners from this world. We want to be able to highlight them, their stories. We think they're the heroes of the small business world. Those owners who took a risk to start something, to have employees, and to create a service, goods or services that impact the community. But no one really hears their stories. So we want to have a platform where we can hear their stories, what things that they overcame, how they how they navigated this world. And much of business is like a stair step, right? You start maybe by yourself, and then you have to take risks to hire that first employee, and the business grows slowly but surely, and they're heroes. And the other thing we want to do is we want to highlight business services that we use, and that we want to expose other people to.
Great. Yeah. So, I mean, this podcast is, we also want to learn from people. You know, there's a lot to learn from the giants of the industry, the giants of our local community. And we want to create a local network of owners that we can all lean on each other and we all know too. So speaking of backgrounds, Nate, what is your background in our community?
Yeah, we're recording this podcast in the Baltimore area. I have lived in the 21227 my entire life. My family has an automotive repair business, and I grew up in that business. I started when I was 12 years old, sweeping the floor of my dad's shop, working on cars, working my way up through the business to the place where I was managing the business. So I come from that automotive repair, the independent automotive repair world.
Nate's a pretty humble guy. Nate and I met at church, but he's wildly humble when he's like, "Oh, I come from the automotive business." But New Life Auto is the business in Halethorpe, I believe it is. Yep. Halethorpe, Arbutus, all the same thing. But every time I pass by, I met Nate probably 8 years ago at church, but I've always brought my vehicles over to him. And every time I bring my vehicles over to him, he would just drop me with a knowledge bomb that was out of this world. And it would get my head spinning. And I would tell him like 3 sentences of like an issue I was going through. And he'd just shoot me like 3 words back that made my head spin for the next 2 weeks. So Nate, it doesn't only help run one of the best businesses that I've seen. He's also a very knowledgeable guy, and that's why we got into Atlas Consulting. Atlas Consulting is the business that we went in on, where we help other businesses. Atlas is from the Greek story of how he had the weight of the world on his shoulders, and that's what it feels like to be a business owner. Sometimes you have the weight of the world on your shoulders. Hercules came by and said, "Hey, I'll put some pillars there so you don't have to carry that weight anymore." And that's what we do. We want to put pillars in place to help your business, but really we're learners and we want to learn a lot. So that's why we're starting this podcast. We want to learn from other people. It's not necessarily like, we want to interview people to be clients. It's more of we want to continue to learn from people better than us, so that way we can continue to be better And if we ever have a client come through the door that's like, hey, I'm really struggling with XYZ, be like, oh, well, we had a podcast with this guy. Go listen to it. It's just an extra tool we're going to use to help our clients, but also just help the community. It's going to be really cool. I think the community is going to get together and see like, oh, this person owns this restaurant, and this person owns this roofing company, and this person owns this electrical company. And, we're buying local, and we're staying focused on local business. And I think I think this is going to be a powerful tool in our community, which is something Nate and I are wildly passionate about.
Yeah. I think with that though, you skipped over your story. Where did you come from?
Yeah. So I come from the heating and air conditioning world. I have different, degrees and certifications around whatever, but I own Beltway Air Conditioning and Heating in Halethorpe, and we also have another location in Anne Arundel County in Hanover. And it's a cool business. I love coming to work every day. I've created a business that I'd want to work at, and it's really cool. So,
you what I've loved watching you up close. So we had those interactions at my shop when you were starting Beltway Heating and Air Conditioning. And I watched you build the systems, put the systems in place to build this company to where it is today, to a place where people love coming to work. It's not just that you love coming to work here. Like, as I've been able to hang around, I've been able to see your employees. They love being here too. And that has to do with the boundaries that you've put in place and the systems that you've put in place in order to create a world where people love coming to work and they're passionate about what they do. And I got just as much out of those interactions, I think, as you did, because I love seeing somebody that was wildly in control of their own destiny, putting into place this stuff to create a business where people love being a part of it.
Yeah, man. Thank you. And that's the thing, is everybody loves coming here. I'm going to love coming here, but I don't want to be in a place where I'm miserable and everyone else is happy, because that doesn't seem fair to me. So there's been a lot of, there's a couple things that I think when you and I get together, we can be very powerful. And we're currently helping a company that was going to fail, and they're making positive net now. We've hired 8 people for them. There's the culture is way better than when we started, and we didn't have to fire anyone. But there's things Nate and I are really great at, and there's things that we're not so good at. We're not claiming to be gurus and we're going to set the world on fire and yada yada. That's not who we are. Our process with this podcast is to learn from people, and the process with Atlas Consulting is that we want to help people that we're qualified to help for, right? Like, we're not going to walk into a corporation, because we're just not those types of guys. We're not suits, as Nate likes to say. And, if we can't help you, maybe through this podcast, we'll find someone who can help you. And that's another reason why we're doing it.
Yeah, we get our hands dirty in things. We both come from a background where we turned wrenches, we fixed things, we dealt with sales up close. When you're in small business, when I was in college learning business, I remember thinking how much that in college, I was learning about how to split stocks and how to launch products into other countries. But none of that really helped me in the small business world, the local small business world. This is it's a whole nother skill set. And I think that's the value that we can add. If you could see us on the video right now, we're 2 guys in black t-shirts, doing what we can do to help people. And I think that's what's going to put this apart, or set this apart from some of the other some of the other places to learn. And, this is very unique, the small business world.
Yeah, we get our hands dirty when it comes to the Atlas thing and helping your business. And like I said, I think this podcast is going to be wildly beneficial to the community and the people that we help and everything. So I think it's going to be really cool. I'm really excited for it. If we asked you to be on this podcast, we'll probably send you this episode to say, hey, what's this podcast about? We just want to hear your story. If you're an expert at something, we want to hear and know about it. like we want to learn from you. We're not asking anything from you other than, hey, let's put faces to names, the brand to the personality. And I think that's all I really can think of, Nate. Unless you have something else, then we can just tell people how we contact us.
Yeah, I think before we do that, let's give them a rundown of just a few either actual companies or types of companies that we hope to have on here. Who are you excited about highlighting? Who are you excited about having on here?
I'm excited to have one of our vendors that we use. All the vendors that we use in Nate's business or mine. And we will never offer someone who comes to us and says, hey, we'll pay you a bunch of money to be on your podcast and to push our product. Like, no, we're only going to push people who we've used for years. Because there's a lot of products out there that oh, this seems really cool. Oh, this helped me for 2 months. Let me go tell the world about it. I think that can get a little dangerous. So anyone we recommend is going to be someone we know, love, and trust for a long time. So that's one. And they're also going to give all any listeners and any direct clients to Atlas huge discounts. Which I'm excited for. So I'm excited for the vendors, just get people plugged in on things to make their lives easier. As far as people go, I am very excited to have people in our community that I go to their restaurant all the time, or I see their billboard on the highway all the time. And I'm like, hey, I found the owner on Facebook or whatever. I messaged them like a creepo, hey, do you want to be on my podcast? And they say yes. And yeah, I'm really excited just to meet the people that make this community happen.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking at my list of people, some of which we've actually reached out to and some of them we haven't. But on this list is my roofer. On this list is, like you said, the restaurant that we just ate in last week, the owner of that restaurant. On this list is a good friend of mine who built a successful automotive repair business and then sold it and moved to Florida. So I'm excited to hear his story, how he did it. On this list is a teacher at a local tech school working with kids who kind of are bucking the system and saying, yeah, I actually am excited about a career in what people might call traditional blue collar work. So I'm excited to hear from that teacher. These are the kind of people that we want to have on, along with the guy that we use to fix our computers. So it'll be great.
Yeah. So some of it will be people we know, some of it will be people we don't know. But either way, I think it will make us all better and bring the community together. So that's what I'm excited about.
All right. So as far as staying connected with us, we have an email address. We have info@giantweight.com, all spelled out, info@giantweight.com. If anyone's got any questions or want to reach out to us as far as being on the podcast. And you can always find us also at our website at atlaspillars.com, atlaspillars.com.
Yep. And same thing with our Facebook. If you type in Atlas Pillars or Atlas Business Consulting, you'll see our logo and everything. And actually, if you look on Facebook or Instagram, you'll see more of our story and stuff like that. So that's us.
All right. We'll look forward to the next few episodes.
Yeah, man.